This time on the Families Matter Most podcast.
Tara, she felt like growing up, she didn't matter. She wasn't allowed to have a voice. She wasn't allowed to be upset. Whenever she was angry or sad, she was sent to a room and told, come out when you're happy. Can you relate to that? She decided a long time ago, alone in her room with her hurt, that nobody cared about her enough to help her.
Every time Jen Dean speaks, I can see hope, knowledge, expertise, wisdom, and love.
When Jen Dean speaks about parenting, we make sure that we are there to listen because we know we will get valuable advice.
Families Matter Most with Jen Dean.
She doesn't just give skills for us to be better parents, but she teaches us how to reach our children's hearts. And at the end of the day, that's what truly matters.
Welcome back to the Families Matter Most podcast. I'm Jen Dean. I'm your family coach, and I get to help parents just like you. Whether it's dealing with specific parenting struggles, I help parents deal with their kids lying, disrespect, disobedience, fighting, yelling. If you want to work on dealing with anger, if you want to be a more positive, peaceful parent, I can help you with that. I also help parents take care of themselves. So if you're trying to balance, dare I say, juggle work and home and taking care of yourself, and you want to be a good spouse and you want to be a good parent and you also want to be, involved in some extracurriculars, it can feel like a bit of a balancing act, can't it? I can help you with that. If that's something you need some better tools, some accountability, some supports, I help parents that want to maybe decide to put themselves not last, We're not the center of the universe, but we're not the dirt on the floor either. Maybe you've decided that, I have not taken care of myself in a long time and I want to get healthier. I want to lose some weight. I want to deal with stress. I want to get stronger. I want to focus on getting the sleep and drinking the water and moving my body again. I can help with all of that. I am a family coach. I have training in all of the areas that will help you as a parent. So I am a personal trainer. I'm a nutrition coach. I'm a life coach. I also teach on specific parenting strategies so I can help you work on things with your kids and help your family to get along better. Basically, I can help you transform your life, and I get to do that every day with families. I've started a case study series. This next series of podcasts is going to be real life examples from clients. Now, every client has either given permission for me to talk about these specific general issues. I've changed names to make sure we protect privacy. And also, I've sometimes created kind of a persona based on some common struggles that I see with parents all the time. So please, if you were thinking about coaching with me, I don't want you to worry that I'm going to talk about you on a podcast. That will not happen. I actually hesitated before doing these because I was afraid of that. I was afraid, this will not be good if I actually discourage clients from reaching out to book sessions. So please, no worries there. There is not going to be any chance of you hearing about you on a podcast. If we haven't talked about it, if I have not gotten explicit permission to do it, know that it's not about you, or it's about a persona of group of people that I've just kind of put into one big box and changed names. Today, we're going to talk about Tara, who is a control freak. Can you relate to that? Are you a control freak? Is that how you are? Do other people call you a control freak? Tara reached out because she was struggling. She felt like she was yelling a lot. She didn't like the person she was becoming. She described herself as constantly annoyed and frustrated. She was mad that her house was a mess. Her kids ignored her. Her husband didn't help at all. She was exhausted, overwhelmed. She wondered if maybe this was it. Was she burning out? Is this what burnout is? Her goals were to stop yelling, to be a more positive person. Maybe you can relate to some of that. Are you a control freak? Would you say that about yourself? So that was some of her life before working with me. I'm going to walk you through what her coaching looked like. Now, remember, it's always customized for each person. So it could look different depending on your specific circumstance. We would adjust, we would make it adapt and fit into your life. But this is kind of her process. And I think it could bring some good insight for you in your journey. You're going to get some insights into how coaching impacted her personally, how it affected her family, how it changed her life. So in her case, in Tara's case, we decided to work on reducing the yelling immediately, along with trying to uncover where this tension might be coming from. So we kind of came at it from two sides. On the one hand, we had to deal with yelling. She wanted to stop yelling. She was a yeller. Hey, I was a yeller. I had to figure this out. I was a everyday yeller and I learned how to get calm. And so I wanted to help Tara to do that. So that's some parenting strategies that we implemented. But at the same time, I don't want to ignore that there's a reason she's overreacting, right? What's underneath all of this? To deal with the yelling, we first uncovered where she feels the stress first. So we always feel it in our bodies first. It's always present physically. It's because our brains are slow to catch up, right? Our thoughts come later. Physically, we feel it before our brains have even figured out what's going on. We're already upset. That's why for little kids that are dealing with anger, for them, when they hit somebody, they punch their sister, and you go up to them and you say, Johnny, what were you thinking? No, really, Johnny wasn't thinking at all. And if you ask him what happened, he would say, I don't know, Mama, I just punched her. And truly, he doesn't know. It happened so fast that he doesn't actually understand. It happened. He was mad and his arm just hit his sister. That's how quick it can be. So for Tara, as an adult, we're wanting to slow this process down. First, physically for her, she felt it in her throat and in her jaw. She would clench her teeth. Is that you? Do you do that? Her jaw would be tight. Her voice would become super sharp. That is her cue that she's losing control. So we worked on, responding to that. When she would feel her jaw start to get tight, her teeth are clenching, that was her cue to stop and to ask herself, what is a word? What am I feeling? What's going on? Whenever she felt that tightness, Tara needed to stop and put a word or feeling to that physical sensation. What is it? So like when the kids didn't listen, she felt it in her jaw. And before she started yelling, she had to practice thinking of a word or a feeling. And she would say a common one for her is disrespect would be the word that would make her so mad. And a feeling would be hurt. So she's thinking anger, but the feeling really truly is hurt. She was hurt. She was hurt because her kids weren't listening. She was hurt because her son punched his sister. That hurt her heart that her child would do that, right? It was hurt. Interesting how we think it's anger. Usually it's a little bit deeper than that. It wasn't easy, but slowly Tara had more success in this area. We noticed the feeling she often associated with the physical sensation was hurt. We saw a pattern there. Then we practiced new verbiage to say to the kids that was firm but not harsh. I'm a big fan in first-time obedience. However, we don't want to be harsh. We don't want to be that parent. And I've been that, right? We don't want to risk hurting the relationship. We still want to reach their heart. I taught Tara how to respond to the kids when they didn't listen, what to do as consequences in their situation. She practiced staying calm and requiring obedience in her kids that didn't jeopardize the relationship. And that felt great to Tara. That felt like she had better control, right? She wanted to be in control. She called herself a control freak, but this felt better. This felt like she had more control over her kids and more control over her own self. It felt good to her. So this was a good thing. Now, remember, we had agreed to try and uncover what was going on under the surface also. So we talked about the hurt. Tara repeatedly felt hurt. When we spent some time kind of unraveling that emotion, we realized that she had grown up feeling like she didn't matter. So again, remember in the previous podcast, and if you haven't listened to it, please do. In the previous podcast, I share some of my story. I cried on my podcast, which is not the first time, let me just say. But I shared something super vulnerable for me in my own journey in figuring out when we need to talk about the past. So if you're thinking to yourself, like, why do we have to talk about the past anyway? Why do we have to dredge up these old memories? They're in the past. And I would challenge that. And I would say, okay, are they really though? Or are they affecting you today? And I shared some of my past and how it was affecting me, how it was affecting how I parented. And when I was willing to process it, not just talk about it, but process it truly, I was able to show up better. I'm able to be more accepting of myself and my kids, and it's changed how I parent them. Tara, too, right? She would say, oh, really? She felt like growing up, she didn't matter. She wasn't allowed to have a voice. She wasn't allowed to be upset. Whenever she was angry or sad, she was sent to a room and told, come out when you're happy. Can you relate to that? Were you told that? Go to your room. Come out when you're not so miserable. Come out when you're happy. She decided a long time ago, alone in her room with her hurt, that nobody cared about her enough to help her. And she kept believing that. As an adult, when her husband didn't help her around the house, her thoughts told her that it was because he didn't care about her, right? He didn't care about her enough to help her. Do you see how it's coming back? When her kids ignored her again, it's because they don't care about her. Her house is a mess and nobody cares enough to help her. She's alone. This is a prime example of how the past isn't really in the past. It's affecting her present. And that is a sign that we need to process it. We need to get into that pit of despair. And you'll know what I mean if you listen to the previous podcast. So once we realized, oh, this is a thought she had when she was a young girl. She made a decision that nobody cares enough about her to help her. She decided that was true and she held on to that as truth her whole life. And whenever her husband, her kids, whenever somebody does something, then that thought is immediately there. That truth in her heart of, see, it's true. They don't care about you. They don't care enough about you to help you. At this point, once we have this new knowledge, Tara could change her mind. Her husband does care. He just didn't notice. It doesn't have to mean that he doesn't care about her. It's that he's busy and he never noticed the dusting because he doesn't care about dusting. It wasn't personal at all. He's fine with the house the way that it is. He didn't think it needed extra work. It wasn't about her at all. When she talked to him about it, when she shared her heart and she said, in the past, this is how I thought. I'm working on changing that, but it's a bit of a trigger for me. So I'm going to do the work there. But at the same time, it would mean so much to me if you could help me in this area. When she talked to him about it, he was great. He assured her of his love for her and he offered to help around the house. He said, I'll just take this whole area here. This will be my jurisdiction. You don't even have to worry about that. I'll look after it. He did care. He absolutely cared. He loved her. It just wasn't on his radar. It wasn't personal. When her kids don't listen, Tara is working on not taking it personally, which is so hard, guys. I know, I still do it. We're all a work in progress, right? She's working on not taking it personally. It's not that they don't care about her. It's that they are kids. It is typical kid behavior to not want to listen. It is typical kid behavior to try and ignore mom when she asks you to do something you don't want to do. That's very typical. With this new thought, she can say, you know what? It's typical. This is regular, normal kid behavior. Doesn't mean it's okay. Doesn't mean I like it. I might want to have some consequences for it, but it's not personal. So with this new thought, it's easier for her to stay calm, to deal with the situation without overreacting. She has some new parenting tools to deal with her kids, and she's seeing results. She feels calmer. She has more peace in her home. It doesn't feel like everything is an attack. It doesn't feel true anymore that they're not helping because they don't care. They don't care enough to help her. Now Tara feels like she matters. She has a voice. She can use it to talk things out without feeling hurt as often. She reminds herself that people do care about her and it isn't personal. She's changed the thoughts from nobody cares about me or nobody will help me into thoughts like, I can solve this problem and I've got good people that I can ask for help. And this is typical kid behavior. That's one that she's used a lot. This is typical kid behavior. I can deal with it. Tara has way more peace in her life. She's more positive. She's not yelling. She's staying calm. And what's more, she says it doesn't feel so forced. You've probably tried that before. I'm not going to yell. I'm going to be positive. But it felt fake. And you felt like you were just gritting your teeth and holding yourself together. Tara says, no, this feels like it's coming out of her from the inside. It doesn't feel forced. She says, this feels more authentic. She used to try and be more positive, but it felt fake. This new Tara is who she is now. I hope that can encourage you. Tara did the work and it made a difference. It made a difference for her personally. It made a difference in her relationships. It made a difference in how she raised her kids, how she showed up at work, how she showed up with her partner. And you can do the work too. Next time, we're going to learn from Jenna, who wanted to lose weight. She struggled for years to keep the weight off, and we know what that's like, a bit of a roller coaster. She would lose some and then gain it back, and then lose some and then gain it back. And she couldn't maintain, she couldn't keep the weight off until we could uncover what was holding her back. And then she said, you know what? It was easier than she thought. So make sure that you tune in and you listen to the next podcast. If you haven't yet, be sure to go back and listen to the previous podcast introducing these case studies. It's all about where limiting thoughts sneak in and how they affect us. Why do we need to talk about our past anyway? We dig into that. And I'm sharing some of my past and what I learned about my thoughts and feelings. And I cry on a podcast, which is always a good time. Anyway, I don't mind. I'm here to show up for you and be completely vulnerable. You can ask me anything at all. I am your coach. I have done all the things wrong. I've learned everything the hard way, and I want to help you get results quicker. And not only just results, but I want you to get results that feel good, that are going to be good for everyone, that are going to be good for your kids and your partner, that are going to fit into your life, results that you can maintain forever. I am pumped. So please give me your feedback. Tell me, can you resonate with Tara? Are you a bit of a control freak? Do you take things personally when your kids don't listen or your husband doesn't help? Let me know what you think of this podcast. I would appreciate a 5-star review. I would really appreciate if you would share this with your people. Let them know that this is a tool. It's a powerful tool to help. The number one way that Families Matter Most has grown to 60,000 downloads is through referral. It is the number one way. So please, anything you can do to share Families Matter Most, I would personally appreciate. I can't wait to talk to you again. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Families Matter Most podcast with Jen Dean, part of the Saskatchewan Podcast Network. If you are interested in contacting Jen for one-on-one parent coaching, for speaking engagements, or just to get a little more information, please visit our website, familiesmattermost.com.
So has listening to this been hard? Is anything that we're talking about in this podcast series, has it been a challenge for you? Is it, like a knife to your heart and you're thinking, that's me. I need to work on this. That's me. That's affecting me. Oh no. If so, please book a strategy call. Let's have an honest conversation about where you're at and what a good next step might be. Whether we work together or not, I want to reach out. I want to make sure you've got something that will help you moving forward. Let's have a conversation. It's not a sleazy sales call, I promise. I want to see your face over Zoom. I want to encourage you to keep going.